In less than 10 minutes, I'm going to show you a complete AI automation workflow that takes a single blog post and turns it into different professionally designed Canva carousels, and it can publish them to different platforms, all without human intervention. This is perfect for business owners or content creators who write a lot of long-form content and want to maximize that content's reach. I'm going to walk you through the entire workflow and explain how this automation can save you around 10 hours a week while maintaining a consistent social media presence. Let's dive in. So one of the biggest challenges that I've found for myself is turning sort of blog posts. So this has just been published today. I'm recording this on the 24th of July, 2025. This has been published this morning. So this is my weekly newsletter, which basically gets published as a blog, sent as a newsletter to my subscribers. I'm trying to build up my list of subscribers. It will also get created as a newsletter. So this is going to get published as a newsletter later on LinkedIn. But what I try and do during the week is drum up a little bit of interest using these carousels. So this is for LinkedIn, and we've got one. So I'm trying to just promote my newsletter, and I've got one for LinkedIn, got one for Instagram, got one for TikTok, and got one for Pinterest. So you can see I've got the templates here, and this is it in Canva. Now the challenge is creating an article like this. How simple invoice reconciliation is making accountants happy, and then turning it into a carousel, because you're trying to distill all this information that you've put together, this long thought process that you've put in, into little snippets. Quite easy because you've got Canva, you've got all these templates which I use, but how do you do this at scale? So what's the solution? Right. So it's an AI-based workflow. So my tool of choice is NA10. You can see I've been saving 117 hours each week. What I've done in my sort of personal section of NA10, I have this repurposing, blog post repurposing. It's a bit of a beast, but what I've done is I have this sub workflow, which is carousel to Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. So if we go back to that, we've got this sub. So I just call it sub, blog post repurpose to carousels. There we go. So this is the workflow I've come up with. So how does this work? So we get incoming data, and this runs on a Sunday evening for me. So what I want to do is on a Tuesday at a certain hour and a certain minute, I want this to be scheduled. So we pass that data in. So that's the sort of the scheduling information. So it gets the date and passes it. Then I also pass in the title and the actual HTML content of the blog post. And then I just tell it, I want you to write a carousel. I want to take income data, understand it, return the information, the following output. 8 items related to content. Each item must be numbered. Slide number, slide title, no more than 8 words long. Each item must be no more than 35 words long. Grade 3 layer in the world, nothing but JSON. So just going back, why 8 slides? So 8 slides is the content, because in this one I've got a cover page, and you can see I've got numbered 1 to 8, and then a sort of exit page there. So for Pinterest, it's very much similar. I just say that's going to be used on Pinterest, and there needs to be 3 items that relate to the content, because you've got the cover page and then they let you do 5 maximum slides on Pinterest, but that's pretty much the same. Uses DeepSeek R1 to keep it down, keep it simple, keep it cheap. Seems to work. Runs a little bit slower, but because this runs on a Sunday evening, I'm not too fussed about how long. All I do is I tell it I want it in this sort of format that then Canva can process. So it's going to be slide number, the slide title, and then the slide text. Cool. Okay. How does that work? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'll do a quick demo from this. So just to show you what it chucks out, and then I'll go into the actual technical setup in a second. So I want a field. So I want, I'm going to say hour. I'll just say it goes at 5 o'clock. Minute. I'm doing 15. 5:15. Title. what I'll do is if I use, I don't think I've done this, so it might be a good one. Don't think I've actually got a carousel of this. So I'm just going to see if this actually works. And then HTML content. I'll just paste it all in and see what it does. Cool. I just need to change that. So I rename this to just disable that in a minute. Edit that to rename to incoming data so it knows what to read it from. So yeah, it's thinking about it. So I'll just run it now because it was causing a little bit of an issue with the namings of this. So I've just made this incoming data. So it's creating the Instagram carousel, it's doing LinkedIn, it's doing TikTok, and hopefully this is going to go and run and do the Pinterest one. As you can see, all the other steps are disabled. I'm going to run through what this actually does in a second, that then you can start using this to schedule it as well. So it's creating a Pinterest one. Perfect. So that's run. So if we go back to Canva, probably won't show them up yet. What I found is a bit funky with the Canva API. Doesn't always necessarily show you the output straight away. So if you just copy the title, make sure you're selecting your designs and paste in the title. There you go. So it's found them. What is an AI agent? So it's created that one, LinkedIn, I think that's TikTok, and that'll be Pinterest. So let's have a look at the Instagram carousel. What is exactly an AI agent? A comprehensive guide, AI agent basics, 4 key components, real world examples, why they matter, how to learn, future possibilities, getting started, safety first, boom. So it's taken this post, as you can see real world examples I've got in there, basic parts of an agent, how to start using it. It's distilled it down into a carousel to promote the actual blog post and try and get people on my newsletter. Perfect. So this is the LinkedIn. It should be the same content basically. It's just a different style. So that's the LinkedIn one. So that's that one. So that is my TikTok carousel and hopefully the Pinterest one. Yep, so it's done this one for Pinterest as well. Again, like I said, Pinterest only has 3. It's put all these in for some reason. I think I deleted these, but it's just using a similar template. Basically, you saw how quick that ran. I mean, how long did that take? In 47 seconds. 47 seconds, you've got 4 pieces of content for 4 different social media platforms, and all you've done is written your blog post as you will be doing anyway. So, you know, however long this could take hours to publish it. And it'll also get scheduled as well. Okay, so how do we actually do this? Well, what you need to do... Oh, actually, that's why it didn't work. That's why it didn't work. So I edited this, but it still had the... this is a good thing, actually, that if you're making a change to your brand templates, make sure you do a republish. Publish and close. So in Canva, you need to create some brand templates. So you can see these ones that I've got all ready. And what you need to know is the little ID. So if you do edit brand template, it should give you, yeah, so in the design, you'll have canva.com/design and then this crazy sort of string here, sort of the third slash. So you need this little code moving forward when you are using the workflow. So inside the workflow, how do you do it? So as I said, the incoming data, this is sub workflow inside N810. I've got another video about a sub workflow and how this makes it a little bit easier for you to build automations and stop things getting as complicated, because you can see this can get very complicated just doing this. So the incoming data, it basically wants the hour, the minute, the title and the HTML content. We have a bit of code here which creates a scheduled date that sets it to schedule in 2 days time. So you should be able just to change that to whatever you want anyway, to say, well, I'm going to publish it in 3 days, 4 days, whatever. So that gets set. Then I've also run through the sort of prompt before, but as you can see, what happens is we just get all this slide output information. Then to create this, we want to post to the Canva API where you tell it all this information. So you basically go this ID, the title of the actual post and asset you want to create, and then this is where you have to pass in the data that you set inside Canva. So in the brand template, if I go to my Instagram one, edit brand template, what you need to do is once you're in the template, you need to do data autofills. And what you need to do, as you can see, I've set this as a title. So you need to actually create all these on the relevant piece of information that's going to get updated. So going back to the sub workflow, we have a title which is a text, which then gets set to that. That's the title. So then slide one, if I look at the subtitle and text one. So for slide one, we have a subtitle and a text one. And then if we look at that, so we've got subtitle one, which is the slide title of the first slide, and then the text of the slide. So you can see output.0, so that's basically it's zero based index, saying whatever AI is created, make sure we put that as the slide title for subtitle one, text one. Subtitle two is slide one, and as you can see, you just go on doing all this. So how do you set a new data field? You basically select whichever field you want. So let's say I wanted to update the URL, set that as a data field, and then you can do add new and give it sort of a tag and do URL and do add. I won't do that because it's going to change the brand template and don't want to do that. And then as you can see, you'd list all these that are in. So what that actually relates to is this sort of format that gets passed to Canva to say, for this brand template ID, create me a new carousel with this title so I can search for it, and here is everything I want passing over to each slide in the carousel. A little bit complicated, a little bit crazy, but it does work really well. Same for LinkedIn. We go and do all that as well. Cool, so then it's got the three that are populated, and I've updated that brand template. So in terms of publishing, what you'll notice is once you've created this Canva sort of API request, it's called an autofill. It's a request. It goes through in the background and runs. And if you notice, we've got this job, it gives us an ID and it gives us status of in progress. So unfortunately, you can't just let this chug away straight away and get it created and published instantly. You're going to have to do some checking that it's created. You saw when I did it earlier in the video that went across and it sort of did it really quickly. It can take a while for it to run. So what I've done is created this wait that all it does, it just waits for 2 minutes. Then we actually check the status. It worked. You just basically, you're not checking the actual status, you're just making sure that it works this bit. And generally what I find, 2 minutes, it's completed. And what happens with this one, with this request, when you call it, it'll actually give you a design ID. It'll actually give you what it's produced over here. So if I go back and look at this AI agent, it gives you back, I think it's this ID. I think it gives you back an idea of the design anyway that you can then use in the next step. So the next step is to then request the download. So again, you have to get the design ID from the previous job, and for Instagram I want it in a JPEG and quality 80, so it's just not the massive size in downloads, and we can get that, and JPEG's good for sharing anyway across social media. So it keeps the size of the download small for you. So you have to then request using this export for a download job to get hold of that. Wait again for 2 minutes to make sure that the job is done. Then you get another job ID from the downloads, from the exports, which you'll get, and then you click this link and it'll give you a way of downloading all that information. Then what I do is I have another sub workflow. What I actually pass in is a social media post. So it's basically come up with a cut down version of what to publish as part of the sort of text for the post. So that comes in from the incoming data. The scheduled date, back here we've created that, we've calculated that. It'll say, right, put it on the scheduled date, and then these job URLs are basically browsable links that you can get each sort of asset for, and then I have this subworkflow that publishes to Instagram, to LinkedIn, to TikTok. So I'll just quickly show you what they look like. I have this publishing area and publish to Instagram, so it's a subworkflow. You get some post data, you prepare for publish, and then what will happen is it should pull in, so the media URLs is we say we want these actual URLs that we've created, the text, the post data, the scheduled time, all this gets published to a API which I use is called Potato, and that actually does the publishing. So one of the cool things as well about NA10 that I use is there's this new feature now that you can say how many minutes per production execution this saves you. So I'm actually going to put in that I think this saves me about 5 hours a week. So 5 times 6 days, so 300 minutes per execution. But I think a savings of about 5 to 10 hours a week. So if I do save, every time that runs, it will update this number as well to say like how many hours I've saved. So the actual blog post publishing itself, let me just find that. So the repurposing, have I put a setting here? So I've already probably included it in here. So that's probably about 480 minutes a week. That's saving me in a 7-day period, and sort of a good number of that is taken up with the carousels. So normally one of the common pitfalls with this workflow will be the actual, what I've highlighted, it will be the sort of data that Canva expects. You've got to make sure that that's tagged right as well. One thing that is also, you might want to spend a little bit of time just disabling the publishing and just doing the upload manually as well, because you might get, sometimes the title can go over 2 lines, so you might get, see you've got comprehensive there, so you might want to just do a review for a few weeks, a few months, to make sure that it fits well, and you just got to go through. So that's one of the common pitfalls, is you might need to do it manually first to make sure everything works. The good thing with Canva is they have this, now you can actually just share it direct onto your profile. You just got to connect it all up. I think, is this a paid feature? Yeah, you just got to connect your LinkedIn profile or your Instagram profile, but you can still just then go in and whenever you're ready to publish, just go in and publish that there. So that's one of the pitfalls, but it's generally, I've never really had any complaints about it when I've done it automatically if there has been an issue, but it's just a case of reviewing it. Again, how would you adapt it? This workflow, so I've put these as sub workflows, so whatever you use to publish, Buffer, Social B, whatever API you use, this can plug and play into your workflows, because you just need to pass it in the incoming data that it needs, which is the title, the HTML content, hour minute, the URL, so the URL of the source blog post, and the sort of cut down social media post you want to use as part of the text for the carousel. and then that's it. That is how easy it is to get up and running. If you do want to grab a copy of this workflow, I've put a link down below. You can go and download this full NA10 workflow, your own business. What I'll do as well is I'm going to chuck in sort of the brand templates that I use. You've got a starting point, in just a case of then you could just go and tweak colours or whatever you need, and you've got the assets to get up and running. As I mentioned, here's a video about how to use sub workflows inside NA10 to make things a lot simpler and make it more of a reusable workflow that you can use across different sort of automated projects inside your business. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.